Hey Jen, did you know that the compact SUV is now the most popular car in the world? In fact, the RAV4 has surpassed the Tesla Model Y as a sales leader. And here we have the Mercedes entry into this segment.
That's right. This is the GLC 350e, a plug-in hybrid, mind you.
So let's start where we always start, and that is with the styling. What do you think of the looks of this very white and black, dare I say, stormtrooper looking compact SUV?
So this is in polar white, not too much of a metallic in it, so it's kind of a flatter white, but it's got that classic giant Mercedes emblem right here in the grille, so you never forget what you bought.
Yeah, you know, I have not been that impressed by Mercedes design language recently. What they have tried to do is they have tried to make their cars very aerodynamic, which is the shape of a teardrop, and yet somehow it takes away from the character of the car. This is a little bit better, but in my eye, it's a little roly-poly, a little less interesting, and a little bit just kind of blobby.
It's kind of less exciting than it has been in the past.
Yeah, but what is exciting is what's under the hood, so let me pop it and we'll show them. There you go.
There it is. So this is a 2-liter 4-cylinder hybrid engine with 313 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque with that 9G-tronic transmission. Also, 4MATIC is standard.
And the great thing about this, of course, is that it is paired with an electric motor. And how big is the battery?
It's a 23.3 kilowatt-hour battery, estimated to have about 54 miles of pure electric range.
And you know, that's a good distance. That's just enough to get you to work, maybe pick up the kids, go to the grocery store, then come home, plug it in, and do it all over again without ever having to actually fire up that 4-cylinder.
Exactly.
It's a good size battery. The downside, of course, is that it makes the car heavy. It's about 5,000 pounds. And once you deplete the battery, like we have done in this car, then you're just kind of running on a little 4-cylinder.
That's true.
If you don't deplete it, then you can run around most of the day without ever having to fire up the gas engine.
That's true.
What do you think of the wheels?
The wheels, I mean, this is a classic black wheel with the silver rim that Mercedes has been doing for a long, long time. I think, you know, all of the multiple spokes and everything, I think it looks pretty cool, but the black gloss wheel, I think, is kind of out now.
Yeah, I agree. But this car does have something unique. Come on over here, Cole. Let me show you. And that is not just level 2, but check it out, level 3 fast charging.
That's right. We can charge up to 60 kilowatt hours. They say you can fill that battery in about 30 minutes or so.
Wow, that's not bad. You know?
Not bad at all.
Most plug-in hybrids only have that. They don't have that. Actually, most hybrids today would have the NAC standard, but hey, you can't have it all, can you?
No.
I also am never a big fan of these kind of hidden exhaust tips because look.
Fake.
Exactly.
We don't want fake.
Yeah, we don't want fake. Come on, Mercedes. Run the exhaust out that, just punch a hole in there. Run it out the back. I remember when Audi did that and they got a lot of flack and then they kind of walked it back, and I was at a press trip recently and they were like, look, we've got real exhausts. And
good.
Now Mercedes
rightfully so.
Needs to learn that lesson. Come on, open up. So let's see how much.
Oh.
Open up, Mercedes. Let me see if I can. That is not very handy. Let me see. Hold on. Will it close or will it open? It'll close. All right, let me try it. Now let me try opening it. I should have done it that way to begin with. So there you go. You've got, you know, one of those 80-20 folding seats. It's not a huge amount of space because obviously under here I believe is the battery. So you get this little like cubby hole, but there is where the battery lives. So you lose a couple inches, just like you would in, let's say, a Toyota RAV4 if you had the hybrid version of it. But it's not horrible, not huge. What do you think?
Well, I think it's kind of expected for this type of vehicle. You know, if this was a full size, I would expect more room, but this being a mid-size compact car, this is kind of what I would expect.
Yeah, and I can now close it with one button. Wahoo. All right, let's jump in. Let's talk about the interior. There's a lot to love here. starting with the materials.
Yeah,
They look expensive.
This is this sienna brown with black interior, and we've got the anthracite wood here. It's a lot of different mixtures of material, including like this, carbon fiber type material here, but the brown it's a color, Roman.
It's a color.
This is I would say like a brown orange color almost.
I don't mind it. I also like these kind of really cool vents that are actually functional versus being hidden in the screen.
Right. And they've been doing vents like this for a long time, but I do like that you can easily tell where it's pointing. Very easy to use.
Yeah, so you can adjust it very quickly. Fat old steering wheel, which is nice. I'm not as impressed with the volume knob. You mentioned this before, when you turn down the volume, this whole thing moves.
Yeah.
Which just makes it feel cheap.
Right. And there's no volume knob, It's just, it's all haptic, or I don't know. I think they're trying to go for futuristic, but it just comes off as kind of cheap.
Yeah, I've never been a real fan of this double steering wheel control where you've got different haptic controls in the steering wheel, including volume, including your cruise control, including pretty much everything that's important. But the screen is very vibrant. The colors are sharp.
Mercedes
does a really good job with that. And then you do have secondary controls like right there, so you can kind of figure it out. What I like about the Mercedes system is that over the years it's gotten pretty easy to use. So once you learn it, I think it becomes intuitive. It's just because we're always jumping in and out of different cars that it becomes a little bit confusing. And then of course, this has different types of drive modes. So battery hold, which lets you hold the battery until you want to use it. We've got pure electric, then we've got the hybrid, Sport, individual. Let's go with hybrid, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And then of course we're in comfort, which is what I like because I like being comfortable.
One thing I do like is these interior lights that we've got here.
Yeah, they're cool.
These are really pretty, and they're not only just in the dash, but I've noticed they're actually in the vents as well. It might be a little hard to see right now, but that is a nice little touch that they did before.
So here's a question for you. Right now you can't kind of see it because you can kind of see it right there. It's glowing kind of almost a purplish color right there. So that ambient lighting runs throughout the entire cabin. And of course you can go in here and you can change it. So you can go anywhere from, think about Roy G. Biv, right?
Yeah.
Red, orange, yellow, whatever the rest of that is. You can have that. But do you think that people actually change that, or do you think they just set it and forget it?
They set it and forget it.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
I doubt there's a lot of people that are changing it, versus the mood that they're in. I like in my car, you can either have it white or orange, and I've left it at one color for 7 years.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you get the Maroni? Let's talk about how much this costs and what it competes with.
Well, the base price starts at $59,900, which
$60,000,
is not bad, but this has quite a bit of packages, which brings this up to $71,700, which is a pretty big jump.
Yeah, it's a lot for a compact SUV crossover. And it does feel compact. I mean, the room here is probably good enough for like an empty nester or a young family, but speaking of young families.
Yeah, right?
This might be a good car for you.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the fuel economy?
So combined with electric, it can get 64 mpge.
Okay, and then 25 mpg when it's just running on gas.
Correct, yeah.
And that's really the Achilles heel, isn't it? Because when it isn't charged, then you're dragging around this, what'd you say, almost 24 kilowatt hour battery, which really hurts your fuel economy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say the ride is a little on the harsh side.
Yeah, I'm noticing that going over the bumps. It's not a very Mercedes type feel that I would have expected.
Maybe Mercedes would call it sporty.
Okay, yeah.
Steering is okay. All these new German steering systems are very electric. In other words, they're not exactly communicative, so it's not like I can really tell what the road is doing. But today, I don't know how many people are going to be taking this and going canyon carving, so I don't think it really matters.
No, especially not in this specific model.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so I'll let it accelerate in hybrid mode and see just how quick 400 pound-foot of torque, or over 400 pound-foot of torque is. So let's floor it. Right, a little turbo lag. Yeah, it's okay.
It's certainly more than what you need.
Yeah, like 6 seconds.
Yeah, 6.2 seconds or so.
That feels very quick, enough to give the kiddo a little smile on their faces, should you want to do that. Now, competition, of course, it competes with, I would say most directly with the BMW X3.
Yes.
Genesis GV70, maybe the Porsche Macan. You're getting up there in price now. So overall, this is, I think Mercedes would say that this is kind of that just right car, not too big, not too small. But for my big American butt, it feels a little tight for me.
Yeah, it does. You can definitely see the emphasis on the compact car of this.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of feel like if we were driving through some European town, let's say Stuttgart, then this would feel like a very big car.
Yeah. I mean, especially with those tiny little streets and everything. But here in the States,
big old America, it doesn't feel all that compact.
It feels very small.
Yes, it feels very compact. But once again, I think Mercedes in general is kind of struggling with electrification, and they're kind of trying to find their way. And a lot of it, along with a lot of the Germans, feels like they're throwing stuff up against the wall to see what sticks. And I think for a lot of people who might have a bigger budget than, say, a RAV4 Prime, which would be, the Toyota version of this would be an interesting solution. I'm certainly not uncomfortable. I certainly have a lot of room. My biggest criticism is the haptic controls. I just feel like every manufacturer has kind of jumped on board, and most car buyers are out there saying we don't like it.
No, I mean, even the seat controls are haptic.
Yeah.
And, Mercedes has been putting their seat controls here on the door forever, but now they don't even push, which was something I loved. It's all haptic, and that's kind of a bummer for me.
Yeah, they reinvented the wheel. At least it's round.
Not my favorite.
Well, guys, let us know in the comments below what you think of this new hybrid Mercedes. Is this something that you would put on your shopping list? I have to say, I like it, but I might be at the point where the haptic controls would keep me away from the vehicle.
I have to agree that the haptic controls, if you've watched any of my videos before, not my favorite. I do like my physical buttons, but 54 miles of pure electric range is pretty nice.
Well, we should probably go charge it up, huh?
Yeah, we should.
All right, see you guys next time. Ciao.